Hey everyone, welcome back. Going to do a quick update today on Coinbase. So they actually recently, um, I guess they didn't they recently released Q1 earnings guidance that I wasn't aware of in the first video. And then I also missed something I would call kind of material in the S1 that they filed. So first, let me show you that. So if we actually come here all the way in the appendix, page F25, they actually break out the revenue for us by institutional versus retail. And my assumption was actually institutional is driving a lot of the revenue because it drives most of the trading volume. In reality, that's not the case at all. The retail is driving all of it. So we're going to quickly update our model here. So the first thing we'll do, we have trading volume. So before we hit transaction revenue, so now we'll add two lines in here and we'll just have a retail and then a institutional. And then this goes 432. Just kind of take the formats there. Okay. To that. And then here we have 30.086 to 55.928. So even though if we look at institutional trading volume, I mean, it doubles, almost triples actually. Their revenue barely even ticks up. Whereas when this doubled, the revenue actually doubled. So definitely interesting. But then what we can do now, we're going to have retail transaction fee. I guess I should still say average. Oops, hit caps lock. And then institutional transaction fee. And this should say average as well. And we can actually kind of, I think model this out actually a little bit better. So now we can have, sorry, let me just, oops, I meant to paste formats. So this is just revenue divided by volume. So we'll do the same thing. We'll do revenue divided by volume. We can actually see they're getting a pretty good fee on retail, whereas institutional, they're getting a crappy fee. Which is interesting. I didn't realize such a crazy discrepancy there. And then you can see an average, it averages out to about 0.5%. So we're actually going to use these now to model out our revenue. So what we'll do here, so instead of having average transaction fee, total transaction volume, we'll actually delete those. Then we're going to add two columns and we'll have retail transaction revenue. And then let me think how we want to do this. Institutional transaction revenue. Let me just find one of these where I like the formatting. There we go. There we go. And then this is just going to be the sum of these two. Okay, there we go. So now retail transaction revenue, right? It's going to be retail transaction volume times the average retail transaction fee. And then same thing here. Okay, so now what we can do is, let's just make these cells blue. For now, we'll just link these up. And then we can assume some price compression or not here in a minute. So we'll just copy this over now. We'll see if it made any significant difference based off. Oh man, it's just driving me crazy. Um, there we go. Okay, so now we're, still growing, but we get to about 6 billion. And, honestly, I'm not sure how much different that is from the old model. Let me open that back up, and we can see if it made a big difference when we broke it out that way. I'm not sure if it is or not, but let's see. We actually came out to a lower amount, funny enough. So interesting. I think um, surprising. I thought we were actually going to swing the other way. Um, so I guess what we'll do real quick now, the last thing to really consider here is we want to look at Q1 results. So they've published Q1 results, well, guidance. They said they're already up to 56 million users, which is crazy. I thought these should actually be blue. And then on top of that, they said they're averaging 6.1 of monthly transacting users. So let's do this at 6.1 and then copy that over. So it's actually 10% now has become the monthly transacting. So it'll be interesting to see if that volume holds, but they are guiding revenue here at, what they guide us on revenue? 1.8. So if we still believe our institutional revenue to be 80, these other things, so I mean, if we're trying to get to 1.8, I mean, this is going to need to come down. So the average volume is definitely decreasing, not growing here. So before we had this as a growth based off, so maybe not quite. There we go. So that gets us to about the 1.8. But I actually, no, I mean, now that I'm thinking about it, this is actually completely wrong. Because they're guiding us on Q1 revenue, I'm going to guess, right? First quarter, yeah, so that's Q1 revenue of 1.8. So they're looking at way more than this. And I guess that makes me want to kind of just look at Bitcoin real quick, because the S1 is for 2020. How has the price actually, let me just go Bitcoin price. I want like a bigger chart. So Bitcoin was at 30,000. Today it's at 55,000. So it's actually up like 55%. So if we keep everything else kind of constant off how our model was, we get full year 3.9, which is probably even low. Actually, no, that's more than 55%. Sorry, it's up almost 100%, huh? 30 to 55, right? So that would be, yeah, it's up 83%. So that's huge. So based off that, right, we're going to get about 4.6 billion. And that's assuming if it kind of stayed flat where it's at now based off the rest of our assumptions, keeping those constant, because we're going to assume the transaction volume goes up for everything. So interesting, to say the least, of how Q1 is kind of shook out so far. It'll be interesting to see if, it being stuck to crypto price is going to actually be the big driver of it. So definitely an interesting kind of scenario. And now if we go look at our base case, right, now you're getting a $40 billion. And I think if we even looked at right, so if we looked at this, we still didn't have their users growing as much as they should. So I mean, that's probably something we could adjust in our our bull case, but it's not completely linked back up at this point. But just thought it was pretty interesting to see how Q1's already shaking out. So I mean, it really is going to come down to like if they continue to have this crazy growth in crypto and these new users jumping on like crazy. So I mean, before they were, adding, I guess they added 10 million users here, but the monthly active is doubled on just a 13 million base ad, right? So that's crazy. A lot more people are transacting every month now, and going to make them pretty profitable. So I think it all really comes down to how the crypto growth kind of continues. So I'll update the other two scenarios real quick, just so we kind of have a similar thing here. So we'll just call this, let me just add these two in there. And then this is what retail. Where's our retail? There we go. And then institutional. There we go. So I mean, even worse here because with the institutional, with the retail going away, much less revenue. And then the last one here, let me just let me lock these. So now this is our, what's going on here? Oh, the other assumptions we need to drop in now is this number being higher, just due to the fact that in Q1 they've already guided us to that. The question is that going to remain over the year, or have we just seen this like crazy spike? I think that's the real question. And then the monthly transacting users, right, just going up like crazy. That black. So I think that's the big question here. But right now I'm going to guess our bull case. Yeah, you get a, you know, closer to where they're currently at. And I mean, I think if you throw 12 or 13% whack on there, because it's pretty risky. 70 to 110 base case, right? 30 to 40, and then bear case 4 to 5. So I mean, I still think they're overpriced. Maybe not as much when we kind of factor in this piece, the retail, but that's assuming retail users stay on the platform. But just saw kind of the Q1 stuff and then noticed that additional schedule in the S1 that I hadn't caught the time before. So figured it'd be good to just update the model quickly and put the file out there if you guys want to download it. So yeah, thanks for tuning in. Let me know if you have any questions or comments. Appreciate it.